before we go into understanding what mistakes companies make and scale-ups make, just give us, what's the difference between Six Sigma, Lean, Kaizen, Toyota Way? That we heard buzzwords and we're kind of
yeah. So I will put it this way. It's the easiest way to understand it.
Please.
Without you going and doing a stupid course online that you're never going to actually do anything with or whatever else. Lean, Six Sigma, and Kaizen are three different things, but they all come from the same initiative. The same goal, the same initiative is to improve. The difference is how they improve. So Lean, Six Sigma are practices. Kaizen is a philosophy. I'm going to start with Kaizen because it's the easiest to get out of the way, and then we can talk about Lean and Six Sigma. Kaizen in Japanese is actually directly translated to change for the better. It's not continuous improvement, as you hear. Continuous improvement is just our westernized, Americanized regurgitation of it. And it works, right? It's good enough. But I believe, especially in international operations and international languages, that you should really look at the core of the language and the literal translation. Otherwise, you'll lose the intention. Kai means change. Zen means for the better. Yes, Zen is a religion, is a type of Buddhism, but Zen actually in Japanese means for the better. It means change for the better. Kaizen as a whole is a philosophy that as we go about day business, and if you're listening, you can't see my hands, but let's say you're just floating and on like a flat surface and it's day to day, you're executing. And it's not until something drops, like something goes wrong, we lost an A player talent, we lost a huge legacy customer, or we have a new competitor into the market, that we change. And then now your hand goes up, right? So we lose something and then we change. What Kaizen, change for the better philosophy as a whole, means we change when there's nothing wrong. We're always changing, and we have a system, an approach, and a standard by which we change, which is what I teach my companies, how we change so that we're changing when nothing's wrong ahead of the curve. So if you're looking at two change curves, the one that's always changing is steeper than the one that waits to change until something goes wrong, because you're growing incrementally over time, which is compounding for all my math nerds. You're compounding the change versus making one big, huge change when something goes wrong. And this is the biggest difference between the East and the West. And I know your listeners are going to be both, which is amazing. The Eastern philosophies does not believe in one-time initiatives. Like, oh, we're gonna bring this outsider in, or we're gonna make a quarterly priority around onboarding and just like do this massive optimization of onboarding. Well, what happens when you do that? Everything before onboarding from the customer's experience perspective and everything after onboarding from their perspective does not match the same level of quality. So as a consumer, when you go into a company, and I know all of you have been there before, where you're like, they nailed sales, like totally blew it out of the water, impressed me. This guy's great. I love this salesperson, hands me over to onboarding or hands me over to fulfillment, install, whatever that next stage of your post-sales experience is. And they're horrible. And they're like not communicating clearly. And they're making you fill out the same form multiple times. And they said they sent you something, but you never received it. All of these incredibly annoying, rudimentary process details that no one wants to deal with. We generally lump this up into the word consistency. How do you drive a consistent experience the same way, the right way every time? That's what we're aiming for. They're doing that. That is a result of not having an inconsistent change management. So they're doing one-time initiatives in certain areas of the business versus changing over time like Kaizen does. And so over time, you get ahead of your competitors and you start to build this reputation of having the best processes in the business, and people come to you to see what you're doing. That's what Toyota has built. They're always changing.
Way?
Yes. Pardon?
That's what they call the Toyota way?
Toyota way is more than that. That is a piece of the Toyota way. Yes, correct. But the Toyota way is the philosophies and processes that make both the company and the culture. So it's been built up literally over, almost 100 years. So it's much more than that. But yes, it's a piece of it. So Kaizen is a philosophy of changing and having continuous change through improvements that are typically led by someone in ops, but company-wide. And this is what I teach companies. Specifically, I like to focus in the service-based business, because another myth in process that we see, and I've seen especially in the West, is people think it's just for manufacturing.
Yes.
And it's so peculiar. Every business has process. It's just that it was born from manufacturing, right?
But let's talk about process for service companies. We all think about manufacturing or products that you use process. What's the best way to implement, or why are important process and service companies?
Oh my God. Well, you're looking at a person going through a process instead of a widget going through a process. It's even more important. It's even more important because the margin for error is even more high. It's easier to control a physical product. It's harder to control a
That's 100% true.
person.
Yes.
And you want to control the person because you want to maintain a level of quality. We do not standardize processes to fucking blow our minds out and be bored as hell, put them in a cloud folder somewhere and never look at them again. We standardize processes to ensure that what we do as a company is delivered the same way, the right way every time. We're not trying to control. You're trying to stand for something. You're trying to define your level of excellence and quality, and then make sure it happens every time, right? And so process is important for service-based companies, because when you're managing a relationship and the delivery of an experience to a person, so many more things can go wrong versus when it's just an object. And I do want to answer your question about Lean Six Sigma. Forgive me, I went on a tangent because I could talk about this stuff all night. And briefly, the most easily put, so you don't have to rack your brain about this, is Lean improves processes by looking at how to reduce variability and increase quality. So the same way, the right way every time, Lean is like, where is there waste?
Yep.
Wasted time, like someone's waiting for something. This is like the perfect example I see in almost all companies is the time it takes to get a quote out. It's unbelievable. I just worked with a company and they were getting quotes out within 6 weeks. And this is super normal. It happens all the time. And so waiting is a type of waste. Motion is a type of waste. Defects is a type of waste. How many things? And I know all of you are just probably giggling because you're like, oh my God, she's like reading my brain. But we see it all the time. Rework, duplication of work. You know, how many times does your onboarding processes not really get all the information you need and you have to go back and get more information? All of this is waste.
We like
So
because we're nervous because we know what you're telling.
it's okay. We can talk.
We
We can talk later. I'll help more, however I can help. But the Lean side of things is looking at where there's waste and reducing waste to increase quality. Six Sigma looks more at variability. So in very simple terms, when you do things the Six Sigma way, you're looking at how variable is this? That's why you look at the standard deviation. How variable is my, conversion rate? How variable is my delivery timing or my production quality levels? How variable is it? And then you want to keep within a standard deviation of variability. But they both improve processes. So one is reducing waste. The other is trying to reduce variability. And there's reasons why you use both, but in very simple terms, all companies have both. And so I don't use Lean or I don't use Six Sigma. Fun fact, Toyota doesn't use either of those. Those words come from other people, not Toyota. It is not what I teach. And I do believe that most companies don't even need them. Of course, the 3Ms of the world, the Boeings of the world, they need those crazy advanced operations that you see when you Google these words. But everyone who's listening, 5, 10, 20, $100 million companies that are privately held, led by founders or original founders, you don't need that crap. What you're thinking is, I am trying to grow. Is everything going to break down when I grow? And the way you prevent it from breaking down is by starting to build an operation around process improvement.